Hello.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining my British Beauty Council live takeover. I'm joined by Andrea Schubach. We'll just hold on and wait for a few more people to join, so bear with us a couple of minutes.
I'm just going to see if I can get this to stand up. Can you still hear me if I put it up?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. I see there are quite a few still joining on. I think, yeah, we'll give it a little bit more time.
Hi guys, thanks for joining. We're waiting for more people to roll in, so bear with us.
Morning, everybody. Hello. Lots of people joining. Hi, Millie. Hi, everyone. Yeah, we're all good. Thanks, Diane. You too.
Morning everyone, shall we make a start or shall we give it another couple of
I
minutes?
think there are still quite a few coming on. Maybe, hi Nicola, hi Leslie, hi Fiona. Maybe another half a minute or so and I think we get going.
Hi Holly.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, still joining. That is a South African accent, quite correct. Sorry. Okay, that seems to have slowed down a bit now. Oh, no, a few more coming on still.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm sure people will still keep joining, but should we make a start, I think?
Yeah, absolutely. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining my British Beauty Council live takeover. I'm joined by Andrea Schubach of BABTAC.
Hello.
And we will be talking various legal issues regarding your business and particularly related to COVID, which of course disrupted a lot of businesses. So in terms of where we're going for the next 45 minutes, Andrew's going to be firing away with some questions that you put forward, which I'll answer as much as possible. And then if we've got any time left over, we'll again answer as many questions as we can. Before we begin, I just want to introduce myself. My name's Mireille Turner, and I'm a senior corporate lawyer at BDB Pitmans, which is a law firm based in Westminster. I've got a handle, my handle on Instagram is Beauty Tech Lawyer. Over to you, Andrea.
Yeah, I see a lot of people saying there is quite a lot of feedback. Need to rectify sound. Mireille, do you have your volume turned down?
Is that better?
Can everyone advise us if that's any better? I do have headphones, not here. Do you have headphones, Mireille?
I don't, no.
Okay, can everyone hear any better now? Apparently it is a bit better. Okay, yes, apparently it's better. So we'll just speak up, hopefully. Oh, my phone is apparently echoing.
Is mine echoing? How's mine?
If I hold it, is that any better? Okay, right. I'll hold it. I'll just hang on to it. You'll have to just put up with my shaky hand then, I think. Okay. Well, let's give it a go. If there are still some, it sounds like most people think it's much better now. So let's give it a go. Just to say thank you to all our members, obviously, who have joined us and who have put through some questions to us over the last week or so. As mentioned, I know there were some questions that fell under insurance and some other questions for employment and property law. Those are not Mireille's area of expertise. We will, however, be answering those on a personal basis. We have collated answers for those people that asked questions on those things. So I think what we'll do is crack on with some of the questions that Mireille has received, or that I've received from Mireille, that she is able to answer. And thereafter, obviously, if you have any questions at the same time, maybe I think after we've answered the ones we've got, we could get on to any other ones that you may have. And if there are ones you're not sure of, ask us. If it is something that Mireille can help with, she will. And if not, then we will get back to you with an answer on whatever your question might be. Okay, so I think, Mireille, if I can then get on to some of the questions we received in, I think first one in, due to my changed circumstances, I'm now looking to start up my own beauty business once lockdown is lifted. And I was wondering what funding options there are available to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially there's three key funding options. There are more, but I'll kind of reduce it to three for ease. You've got bootstrapping, you've got equity funding, and you've got debt funding. Bootstrapping is essentially financing the business or funding the business from your own resources. So it's with the involvement of no other outside parties. It's you financing it on your own. And that's not likely to be immediate finance, as you will appreciate, as your own savings are only going to go so far. So if you need funding quickly, bootstrapping might not be the best option for you. The second approach is equity funding, is where you take money from an investor. That money belongs to your company, and the company will then issue the investor shares. So that's one funding option that's known as equity funding. And you may have heard of venture capitalists, angel investors. So they're the types of people to kind of engage in equity funding for beauty startups and other forms of startups, early stage businesses. And then you've got debt funding, which is essentially, it's a bank loan. It's borrowing money from a bank or other financial institution, and you'll be repaying that loan back at a later stage. So it's very different from equity funding. Equity funding, you don't repay the loan, you're issuing shares. However, debt funding, you are repaying that loan. The benefit is that you're just not giving away any shares to that bank. So they're three key funding options. And there are, of course, grants and other loans available.
Yes, okay. And those are obviously all separate to the COVID-19, and those wouldn't be applicable to anyone who was starting up a business. I think they could. I think the new borrowing grant they could, but those are just normal grants, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Different grants, different loans. At the moment, there are a lot of kind of COVID-related ones, and there's lots of eligibility requirements, and the gov.uk website does contain some brilliant guidance for anybody that wants further information on that.
Okay, great. Well, I hope we've answered that one then. Moving on to the second question. My business partner and I own a salon. I have now left the business. My name is still on the lease along with hers, and she is refusing to remove me. Am I entitled to half of the 10,000 small business grant?
Okay, it really depends. I'm sorry to hear that. Obviously, things have panned out like that, and you say that you've left the business. It really depends on the facts. How are you structured? Are you a company? It may be the case that you've applied for a small business grant via your local authority, and that money's gone to your company. So actually that money doesn't belong to you as founders. That money will belong to your company. So what I would probably suggest is that you get in contact with your local authority to ask them the question, but kind of I don't know the exact response to that, but I wouldn't think that money would belong to you personally. So I would probably strongly recommend that you get in contact with the local authority in respect of that question.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully that's answered that. I see we have got a question down the bottom here. I think mostly if we can do questions probably afterwards, would that be easier?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. What do you think is the future of beauty blogging? I'm not sure that's a legal question. Maybe we can come to that afterwards. That's probably something on a separate one that we'd answer separately. But
yeah, I mean, it's a good question.
Yeah,
It's
it is a
likely
good
to take
question.
off while we're in lockdown, that's for sure.
Yeah. What's the ratepayers? Oh, okay. They're going rather quickly. We never got the other speaker's bio as it was too echoey. I don't know whether that was me or you. Okay, that might have been me. I'm the marketing head of marketing at BABTAC. So, oh yes, it is legal only at the moment, but I'm more than happy to take the other questions. No problem. Take other questions and get you an answer to those as well. If you'd like to send those to marketing at BABTAC, I'll make sure I get that question back for you. Okay, I think let's move on to another question then. Whilst on furlough, am I allowed to ask my staff to undertake minor tasks to keep my business from closing?
No, the simple answer is no.
No.
Once you're on furlough, you're not doing any tasks for the company or the business from which you've been furloughed.
Okay, yeah, that's a straightforward one. At the end of lockdown, do I need to keep my staff employed if they have been on furlough, or am I able to make their post redundant if I can't afford to pay their salary?
Yeah, so there's nothing to stop you from making your employees redundant during or after furlough. So that's something to be aware of. But really, furlough is a last resort to keep your employees employed, so that after furlough, and once all of this is out the way, that they can stay on your payroll and remain to be employed. So that, again, once we're out of all of this, they can hit the ground running and you can operate the business as normal. So that's something to be aware of. And something else that I'll add there is that in respect of furlough, it must be for a minimum of 3 weeks for each person. So you couldn't dip in and dip out. And there may be a lot of problems with employees. So you may have some employees currently who are working full time and obviously getting their normal pay. And then you've got some employees that are on furlough who are getting 80%. So for those that are doing nothing and still being paid, it can cause problems or kind of it unsettles some people. So other solutions that you may want to think of is a kind of A and B system. Half the workforce is furloughed, the others are working, vice versa. But I mean, it really depends on the skills of your workers and who you really need to be working hands-on. Because as I say, and just to reiterate, if you have been furloughed, you shouldn't be doing any work for the business at all. No,
I see a comment has been made here, and I do know that is valid, is that obviously you can have furloughed staff doing training, and in fact, really, they should be training if at all possible for you. There is another question asking here if you can make staff part-time after furlough. I don't know if that's a...
Yeah, so that's more of an employment question.
Yeah.
However, it relates to the employee's employment contracts, and you can certainly vary that after furlough with their consent.
Okay. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Skin Genus. Okay, then on to the next one. At the end of lockdown, do I need to keep staff employed if they have been on furlough, or am I able to make their post redundant if I can't afford to pay their salaries? So that's quite a similar question, I think, actually. Yeah,
very similar. So my response would be the same.
Much the same. Okay. As a director, allowed to, as I am a director, am I allowed to undertake any marketing tasks to keep my customers updated whilst on furlough?
So whilst on furlough, Andrea, as you already mentioned, you can undertake training, but again, to reiterate, you can't continue to work. No marketing tasks are likely to generate, the marketing task which you make reference to, it's likely to generate commercial revenue, which
income.
Is exactly what's not allowed. So I certainly wouldn't recommend it. I would say that it's very much in kind of contravention of
Yeah.
See the
Yeah.
rules
No.
that have been laid out.
Yeah, agreed. I think we're the same. I think you can advise if there's something that someone doesn't know how to do in the company. As far as I know, you're allowed to advise how they do that.
Yeah, so that would probably,
but nothing that generates any income.
exactly, that would border on training. And kind of before we move away from that, if you have a company in England and Wales who registered with Companies House and you're a director, you will still owe your director's duties. So as a director's duty isn't to generate commercial revenue, you'll still need to fulfill your statutory duties, such as filing accounts, your confirmation statement, to run the business for the benefit of the shareholders, of the employees. So anything kind of set out in legislation or by law, and as I say, any other information that you're obliged to give to your shareholders or information that you're obliged to file. So that's something to be aware of. Just to reiterate, your director's duties don't fall away, they remain in place.
Yeah. I think Salon Owner United says directors are still bound by Company House director duties. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And the duties are set out in the Companies Act 2006.
Yeah. Great, thank you. On to our next one. We currently have our RPs for a product supplier, which we usually adhere to, but given the circumstances, would like to offer online discounts to our clients. Are we right in believing that this is not a legally contractually binding agreement and could not be used against us?
It's a good question, and RRP stands for recommended retail price. So it's the amount that's set by the manufacturer for you to sell on. So no, there's no obligation for you to sell on the basis that it's recommended. However, it's important to draw a distinction between the RRP, which is the recommended retail price, and the RPM, which is the resale price maintenance. And that between a supplier and a retailer, it's agreed, and it must not be sold below that particular price. So do check any agreements that you have in place, just to check that it's an RRP and not an RPM, and check any other terms that you may be between both you and the other party. Just make sure that there's no other restrictions in place to stop you from doing that. But to answer your question, an RRP is recommended, so it's certainly not compulsory or obligatory.
Great, thank you. I'm seeing another one here. I just want to read and see. As self-employed, will I still be able to claim personal compensation if I generate any form of income, i.e. occasional sales? I presume this might be employment again, or is this something that you can, yeah. Any of these questions coming through where we can't give an answer now, we will get an answer to you. So that one I don't think, I don't know if anyone else has an answer to that. Yeah, right. Sorry, moving on to the next one. My salon rents laser equipment from a supplier. Do we have any way to freeze payments legally if the suppliers are not agreeing to freeze from their side?
So I will assume, and it's likely the case, that you have a contract in place with your supplier for the rental of that laser agreement. So your first port of call should be to that contract. If there is no contract, have a look at their terms and conditions. So it may be the case that they're renting that laser equipment to you for a particular period of time, and that you're going to need to continue to pay for that rental, despite the fact, unfortunately, that you're not using that equipment. There may be an early termination provision in the contract, and termination just means that you can bring the contract to an end. Have a look at that, but before you do that, just check that there's no penalties. And it would also probably be advisable to get in contact with that supplier. There's no harm in picking up the phone or sending them an email just to say, I've checked the terms and conditions, or I've checked the contract, or maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that, but just say, look, I'm not using the equipment, I'd like to return it, or alternatively, I'm not using it, but I'll keep hold of it. Is there any way that we can freeze payments, bearing in mind what's going on at the moment? And hopefully goodwill and common sense prevail, but it's worth a try.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all very difficult, isn't it? But obviously, most people are in the same boat here, and most people want to keep their clients, suppliers, people who have their contracts with happy as far as they can. So I think people are willing. I think a conversation is probably the first place to start with suppliers, and especially if you have,
and reputationally as well. Everybody kind of works. There's a lot of people that are trying to do people favors at the moment. So
obviously,
give it a try.
Yeah, it's a bit of give and take, I think, at the moment for everybody. So
yeah,
I think, sorry, I've just seen one come through here which has disappeared now. I do apologize. I work from a home-based salon, which is from my family home, not my personal home. Will I be able to claim the grant, or what other support can I apply for? I think, sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good question. Gov.uk, again, loads of really helpful guidance, and getting in contact with your local authority. I'm sure that they'd be more than happy to help you with that question. Unless, Andrew, you've got any kind of other view on that particular question.
No, I think generally on the grants, etc., we have quite a list of things on our BABTAC website under COVID-19 support that links through to the different options that government have at the moment. They obviously released their bounce back one yesterday as well, which is a loan, but with low rates and a long time to pay back, etc. I think if you want to have a look at any of those, the actual COVID-19 grants, etc., if you go to the BABTAC website and click on the COVID-19, or alternatively, government websites also will give you a range of different options that's available at the moment. Someone has said, no, if non-rate pay, I think payer, no grant applicable. No to grants as not individual business rates process. Yeah, okay, so you do have to have business rates. You can claim, yes, you can claim for a self-employment grant, but I think you do have to have 2 years proof of business taxes. Right, next question. I have just found out that a business local to mine has changed its name to the same as mine. Is there any way I can fight this? I've had my business name for nearly 10 years and this business is only a few miles away from me. It is not a new business. It has been there for a few years, but it has just changed its name.
Okay. Yes, I'm really sorry to hear that's the case. It's a really difficult one.
Yeah.
You say that you've had the business name for nearly 10 years now. I guess my first question to you would be, how are you incorporated? Are you a private company? If you're a private company, you'll be registered with Companies House, so you will already own that name at Companies House. And the good thing is that nobody will be able to set up legally at Companies House with that name. However, that's not to stop somebody from using your business name. So I could still register myself at Companies House with UK Limited, but I could trade as Beauty Tech Lawyer. So they're two different things, a kind of registered name and a business name. My second question would be whether you're registered with the UK Intellectual Property Office, because you can register trademarks, and you can trademark things such as logos and in this case a name. So if you have registered your name as a trademark, that would be good, because you have the right to use that name and nobody would therefore have the right to use it. That would be infringing a trademark, and you would be able to bring proceedings against them for that. However, if you've not registered the trademark, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to look that up in more detail, because it may be the case that if they're pretending to be you, so they're not just using your name but they're actually pretending to be you, it could potentially be passing off, which is a different kind of right of action in itself. So yeah, as I say, ping me a message and I'll be happy to look that up in a bit more detail for you. But of course, I'm sorry, and yeah, it's certainly not acceptable. We're looking at that in a bit more detail for you.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I have just had a couple more questions come in. These are new ones, Mireille. I don't know if anyone else, if you'd like me to go through these, or if anyone has an urgent question they'd like to ask online for now first. If I don't see one pop up quickly, I'll ask a couple of these. Okay, what I'll do is there are a couple that have come through here. I'll just have a read. I'm not sure, Mireille, whether they are ones you can answer yet or not. Top tips for getting your finances in order now, ready for when doors reopen. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, that's more of a financial question. It would certainly probably be worth you picking up the phone to your accountant or other kind of other financial advisor if you have them at all. But I guess it would be kind of looking at your cash flow, money in, money out, making sure that all of your records are up to date. Whether you wanted to cut back on any certain costs, any overheads that aren't strictly necessary. But bear in mind, don't be kind of too excited in chopping back those costs, because we don't really know how we're going to come out of this. We don't know whether it's going to be a really slow process over a matter of months, or whether it will kind of snap back into place where everybody's so eager to get going. So bear that in mind, and I'd really just kind of consider the overheads and the spendings that you can live without. Yeah, which I think most people are aware of now.
I think this is a banking one is, will I ever be able to get investment again? I think that's a difficult one to answer.
I'm sure happy to answer that. Yeah, absolutely. You will have potentially a venture capital firm or other angel investor who would be interested in investing in you if they like the idea, they like the product, and they can see a return on their money. At the moment, the issue is that where COVID has affected so many industries and has affected so many businesses, not in respect of all businesses, but it's affected quite harshly companies' valuations. So if you were to take on investment at this point, it's likely that you would get a very low valuation for your company, meaning that the investor would get a much higher equity stake in your business. An equity stake is essentially shares in your company. If you're a company and you're limited by shares, in an investment round, you're giving shares to the investor. So they're going to be taking a lot more shares if you're at a low valuation at the moment. My advice would potentially be to consider other funding options. If bootstrapping is an option, brilliant. If it's not, debt funding potentially, consider your options. But in respect of any investor, and this is what I always say to my clients, is there are so many angel investors and venture capital firms out there. Don't jump to the first one that shows you interest. They've all got their own personalities and they all make very different demands. So you may have an angel investor or venture capital firm who is going to put up X thousand pounds and wants to take a very small stake. And for a very small stake, you wouldn't necessarily want to provide them with a board seat or kind of really harsh consent matters, because it can hamstring the business. So kind of treat it as dating. See what people have got to offer. There certainly isn't one, and look at it very long term. You've got to get on with that investor. You've got to make it work. You're going to be working together a lot. So do your due diligence on your investor and hold out. But in response to your question, it probably will be more difficult. I'm sure that will pass. Just make sure in the meantime that if you do need equity investment, that you get your pitch deck in order. And a pitch deck is essentially a set of slides or whatever other format you've got that deck on. It's a pitch to investors. Why would somebody want to invest in you? What's the company doing? Where does it want to be? How's it going to generate profit? Make sure all of the information is accurate, up to date and correct, and that there's no errors.
Yeah, which is a good thing to get done now anyway, I guess, and people have got some time on their hands, so good time to look at all of those things.
Absolutely.
Even if you're not looking for investment right now.
Yeah. And another thing to start doing if you're contemplating investment is to get a secure documents bank. Start putting all your documents relating to the company in one place, because when the investor wants to do their due diligence, they're probably going to want a contract that you entered into a couple of years ago. And I know certainly with me, I'll be rifling through Google Mail amongst thousands of emails. So if you've got it all in one place, it will save you so much time.
Good advice. Okay, I think I have one or two more. Sorry, this one's difficult to read. What are investors usually looking at for in a beauty business, and how can I apply any of this to my company, even if it is a small business? I think that's probably covered by what you've just been through before, actually.
Yeah, it's a good question. What they're looking for, ultimately, they're looking for a business that can make them a return on their money. So with investment, investors going to put in £10,000 in exchange for shares. And ultimately what they want back is the £10,000 plus a profit when it comes to them selling their shares. So again, I touched on getting the right angel investor, venture capital firm for you. When you're looking at the different kind of investors out there, you should be asking your own questions. Have they invested in businesses like yours before? Have they invested in businesses in the beauty industry? The reason for that is you want to make sure that they can provide as much value to you as possible going forward.
Okay. I think I'm just going to check if I've got any more new ones in. I don't know if anyone else has any questions they would like answered while I just go into my mails and check if there are any more.
IRV Skincare about seeking a trademark and copyright advice. Yeah, drop me a message after. I'll ask you a few questions and I'll be happy to give you a few friendly pointers. We'll take it from there.
Great. I don't seem to have any more have come in from there. As I mentioned earlier, if there were questions that were sent in beforehand that we haven't covered here today, it means that it wasn't an area that Mireille experienced in. So we have looked into other ways of getting those answers for you, and anyone who has sent in questions should receive an answer from us today or tomorrow with a response directly. Just one more look. I think I have one more question here. No, that's just a reminder to post them into our marketing at BABTAC for anyone else. Does anyone else have anything they need to know, or do you have any advice? I mean, you've been with the beauty, you're very involved in the beauty industry for quite a long time. Are there any other questions that you're finding are coming up more and more, or that you're having to help with a lot?
Yeah, so investments is a big question that I'm getting at the moment. And somebody answered earlier, what should people be doing in the background, kind of while you've got spare time. For a lot of beauty businesses, there's not a lot you can do at the moment, which is a real shame. So you can, as we all know, it doesn't take me as a lawyer to advise on this, but it is very much kind of making sure you've got everything in order. It's time to start thinking about making sure that all of your contracts are watertight, that you're as protected as possible. Your branding securely protected. So in any business, the goodwill is often the most valuable asset a company will have or a business will have. So if you have a logo or a name, start to think whether you want to trademark that, because that will stop, hopefully, other people from using it. I mean, that's not to say that it will stop somebody going off using the name, but it's certainly you've got a legal claim against them for trademark infringement. So I always do advise that businesses consider getting trademarks to protect their brand. And marketing, that's another big thing, as I'm sure you will agree, Andrea.
Yeah.
It is a perfect time to kind of really sell your services, get your name out there, get testimonials.
Yeah. I think getting everything in order, you know, a lot of the time, what we find in any of our businesses, be it any industry really, is that we're always so busy, there's not a lot of time for the stuff that we keep needing to get to. And this has been the perfect time to do all those things. I know we have been focusing on a lot of things, although our main focus at the moment is obviously getting guidelines, etc., ready for our members when they go back and when doors open. And we've had many people asking, when that is going to happen, etc. And I know the government are making some announcements this week in terms of rolling out a plan. So I know as soon as that happens, there'll probably be a much bigger rush to getting things done. But really, I know for me, on a personal basis, it's a very unusual time to not be running amongst a million different things at once. And so the time is there, and it's just being dedicating the time to sitting down and getting things that you never get to done. And actually, I've had a lot of messages online, who people not even really knowing how to use social media now. Social media, as we know, has become exceptionally important during these times, especially with staying in contact with your clients. It's a personal touch, and it's a personal industry we work in. So, yeah, definitely time to focus on all those things, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Right, well, I think unless we have any more questions, I haven't seen any more. They were flying up at the rate of knots earlier, but they seem to have slowed down considerably. If there are no more questions from anyone now, I think then we could probably leave it there. I know that this is going to be posted and should be able to be picked up on the live feed for anyone who has missed it. Also, if anyone knows of someone who wants to watch it afterwards. Any questions that are coming up that haven't had an answer to, or that you sent in before, as mentioned earlier, we will be getting those to you, whether we missed any that Mireille can answer, and if there are some there that are more employment and property, then those ones, and of course any insurance questions we will get to for all of you. So you will receive a response to all of those. So I think then, Mireille, just thank you so much. Thank you for your time and all the answers. I think legal is always a difficult one, and certainly, for a lot of people who don't have that background. So wonderful to have your experience and your time. Thank you for giving that to us.
Yeah,
I think
no problem.
also a really big thank you to the British Beauty Council for letting us take over their fee today. They're amazing, and they're great supporters, and do great work, and we love working together with them. So thank you to them as well. And anyone else who has any queries, just can send those through to marketing@BABTAC, or obviously to the British Beauty Council or Mireille. And if there are any questions for Mireille from our side, I will get them on to her.
Thank you. And again, everybody, thank you very much for joining. I know legal is not the most fun topic to be discussing at the moment, or for you to listen to, but it is very relevant. If you do have any more questions, my handle is Beauty Tech Lawyer. So just drop me a question on Instagram, and I'll be very happy to help you as much as I can. I appreciate it's a very difficult time. So together with the British Beauty Council and BABTAC, we'll do everything we can to make sure that you're as supported and informed as possible.
Super. Well, that's great. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining.
Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.